I still don't know what is like the hardest, managing 2 kids at home or managing 200 and plus people in the office. It's
Welcome to the Voice of Visma podcast, where the heartbeat of our community comes to life. Join us as we chat with Visma leaders and colleagues, sharing their stories, industry insights, and valuable career lessons. Welcome back to the Voice of Visma podcast. My name is Juliette, and I am very excited to be the host for 2 special episodes this month that focus on some incredible women leaders here in Visma. Today, I have the pleasure of sitting down with Ellen Sano, who is the managing director of Yuki. Welcome, Ellen. Welcome to the podcast.
Thank you, Juliette.
How are you doing today?
I'm doing great. I'm looking forward to this podcast.
Good. We're excited that you're here. So for anyone who hasn't met you yet, can you tell us just a little bit about yourself?
Well, I'm Ellen. I'm Belgian. I mainly work in Belgium and the Netherlands because with Yuki we have 3 offices actually, also in Barcelona. But I spend my time mostly in Antwerp and Rotterdam. I've been at Yuki for 10 years. It's almost my celebration year, so that's really nice.
Yeah.
Looking forward to that. And and beside that, I'm of course also happily married. I should never forget to say that.
Yeah.
Happily married, and I have 2 kids. They are turning 2 and 4. So that's also very nice. I still don't know what is like the hardest, managing 2 kids at home or managing 200 and plus people in the office. It's it's a bit back and forth.
Yeah, absolutely. I can imagine. And congratulations, first of all, for celebrating, was it 10 years?
Yes.
10 years. That's amazing. That's amazing. Yeah. And so Yuki is in the Netherlands, Belgium, and Spain, correct?
Yes, and we also work with the competence centers in Portugal.
Oh, okay, amazing.
With Visma. But I mean, commercially spoken, we're only in Belgium and Netherlands.
Okay. Yeah. And so can you explain a little bit what Yuki does and what you offer?
Yeah, well, actually, like it's been 10 years that I've been saying that we make accounting sexy, but now everybody's copying it, so I tend not to use it anymore. Yeah. But that's actually what we do, because accounting for a lot of entrepreneurs, it's a bit like, love and hate, they have to do it, but they don't really like to do it. And that's where we jump in, because we have an offering where we, in the end, offer it to the end client, so the SMB, where he or she can run its business on a daily basis, because business is not run every quarter, it's run every day. And that's what we tend to do, is give them insights, give them very cool overviews, but in an understandable way. And how to do that is the other side, is the accountant. So we offer for both of them a great solution. So for the entrepreneur, very insightful, very easy. Yeah. But for the accountant, it should be, of course, bookkeeping. Yeah. So we try to automate as much as possible. And it's a self-learning platform. So it learns from the accountant and the file that he's working in, to automate as much as possible. Oh,
interesting. Okay. And in terms of like self-learning, is that kind of like machine learning, AI kind of similar?
Yeah. We actually use machine learning since the start. So actually everybody's talking about AI now, but we never use the word AI, of course, but it's been always in there. And I think that's also our role as Yuki, but in Visma in general, is to make things that our clients don't know they need. And I think that's been always a goal with Yuki, is to surprise people. Yeah. Because if you make things that they expect, they do it like the old way. And that's really cool.
Yeah, that's amazing. And so you became the managing director of Yuki at kind of a young age, if I read correctly. What was that like, that experience?
Well, it didn't really, it just happened, It's been like a natural way of becoming a managing director, because in Belgium I was one of the first employees, the second one. I just with the founder in Belgium, we launched it in the market. We went to the market. We evangelized, like they say, and suddenly we're 10 years later, and it's like this. So it just happened to me, and I think it's been. It's been a hell of a ride, but I always say it's still the beginning. And how did it happen? I started as one of the first employees, and of course I did sales, but in the end, what do? It's like everything, because you are only 2 people.
Right.
So you do a bit of support, you do a bit of training, you go to the grocery store when there is no lunch available. So it's been like, everything. And that's really cool, because that from the start, it felt like my company, to say so. And in that sense, it didn't change, but it just became bigger. So it's been really exciting because first, of course, with Belgium, we've been growing quite hard in these first years, from 2 to 20 to 40, and now I think in Belgium we're almost 80 people.
Oh wow!
But then in 2021, a year after we got acquired by Visma, I took over the MD role. So then, I did all the countries, and then it was not even 200 people now, but now we are 220. Wow. So it's been growing on me, and I think I think that's a nice way to take up on a role. It's like you feel natural, and that's also what I believe in when people aim for something higher or have ambitions. It has to feel natural. Like when we communicate, for example, that we have a new manager or we have a new lead from a team, then the team should think, that's normal. Like it's not because you have a title, then you suddenly become a manager. It's the other way around. You are a manager and then you get the title. Yeah. I mean, that's what I strongly believe in.
Yeah, no, that makes a lot of sense. And especially when you're trying to get people around an idea. As a managing director, I'm sure that's kind of a lot of your role is to get people on board with, the decisions that you want to make. I can imagine it's easier if you go from not just like, this is a leader now and you must follow them. You're like one of them and you just kind of step into that.
Yeah, so it felt very natural. And I took that role, like enthusiasming people and getting them along the way. And so, it's and it's also good because you know everything. Like I did support, I did training, I did sales, and that's really nice because when people come to me and ask for something, of course now they know a lot better than I do. Yeah. But I can imagine what it is, or I can imagine what their challenges are, and I think that's very useful as a leader as well. That's also a challenge because you cannot dig in too deep because it's their core, and you want to be involved in everything, but you have to keep a distance as well. And I think that's my good thing and my bad thing is that I know everything, but it's not always good to use it, let's say.
That's fair. And in those situations where you know everything or you know about everything about the company, how do you kind of keep that distance where you let people be the experts and do what they need to do and you just kind of stay back? Is that a challenge to do that sometimes?
Yes, that is. Maybe you should ask my colleagues if I succeed in it. Because I think I do that. I know everything, but from a distance. Like I'm a generalist. Like I know bits and pieces from everything, but I don't know everything from everything. I don't know if that makes sense. Yeah. But and how do I do this? Well, I try to be involved like once in a while because I think that's also very good to have my role and make decisions because you have to have your feet in the ground. You have to know the clients. You need to be in certain meetings, both externally and internally. But then when I'm there, I try not to make the decision right away. Like a good example is one of my marketing managers. I asked like, do you want me in this meeting? Because it was a bit like, she invited me, but didn't really notice me. Like, I was like, but do you want me in that meeting? And she said, well, actually, I'll preferably not, because when you are there, the decision is made much faster. Like, and you go like, tack, tack, tack. But sometimes it's also useful that people have their own thoughts, think about it, go back and forth. And I mean, and that's very valuable. And I think it's very good that they say to me. So I try to keep it a bit of a balance, but sometimes you need to jump in. So it's, I think I succeed in this every day a bit better, but that remains my challenge.
No, that's great. And it's great that they feel comfortable enough to be like, you know what, actually, let's do this. And then, we'll bring you in, if we need the decision.
Yes, I think it's also because I know them quite well. I've been there from the start, so I hired everybody. So I know them very well. I've been always very open and personal. And I also tend to ask, like, what do you think of it? Or give me feedback. Like when we went to a customer meeting with sales, for example, the first thing I did when I got in the car was like, okay, do you have feedback for me? And when they think that's hard, because in the end it's like your manager or your boss asking that. I gave examples myself. Like I said, okay, I think I could have done this better, or I maybe talked too much or whatever. And then it's easier to get the conversation going because a lot of people tend to say, but please give me feedback, but I don't get feedback. But it's also, especially in a leadership role, it's how you ask feedback and help them a bit, because it's not very yeah, like especially when they come from different companies where it was like very hierarchical or whatever, then it's hard for people. So we need to educate them as well in giving feedback.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's a really good lesson. I think especially working across borders, because personally, I come from the US and hierarchy is a very big thing. So coming here where hierarchy is a little bit less and you know, talking to managing directors and, you know, people at different levels, it can be intimidating. So I love that that's kind of your approach to teach people how to give feedback to you so that they feel comfortable.
Yeah.
So that leads me into my next question. And I think it's a really good segue into something that you've said before is that I think we have this perception that CEOs, managing directors, people at a high level should be the smartest people in the room. They should know everything. They should be like the best player on the team. Do you agree with that, or do you kind of see it a little bit differently?
No, on the contrary. I think it's as a leader, it's important to not always be the best player in the team.
Yeah.
And by that I mean giving the others freedom to grow and to become stronger. And of course, they need a leader in the end to sometimes make a decision. So I think that's why we're there, and to make the overall view and decision. But in the end, I think it's important to surround yourself with people who are better than you. That's what I always say. Like, it's very useless if I hire 200 people that I believe I'm better in a certain thing that they are. So because then we will not grow, and also then my role is it's very how you say that, it's a dangerous role to be in that. And I think we can only grow as companies to have smart people around you. So yes, I tend to acquire people or hire people that know certain things better than me, and I think that's really good and really valuable, because they, in that sense, as a leader, you can always still be learning as well. So I think that's another offset, which is quite useful. But on the other hand, it's much better for the company. Like, for example, our finance people. Of course I know a bit of finance, but they do things with those numbers that I didn't know that were happening. So and I think that's really amazing, because that's why they are an expert. On the other hand as well, I think with a lot of things that I did in the past years, I do a lot on gut feel. Like when people talk about data, I always say my stomach is my data. And I know it's very dangerous to say, but in the end, it led me to where I am now. And I think I can say that my gut feel is quite accurate. But of course, it's not like tight. Like, I mean, there's data also. So even, and especially when you're growing, you know, it needs to be based on facts. So that's also something. I surround myself with people who can confirm, for example, my gut feel with data or things like that. But in the end, I think it's just important to know your strengths, but also know the things that you are not so good at. And hire people who are better than in this. It's the same with our software. Like, I think my strength in becoming a leader in Yuki was what I already mentioned. I know a lot of it. Like, I really knew the product. It gave me the confidence. They can ask me anything about the product I knew. But now I'm 100% sure that more than 50% of our team knows the product a lot better than I do. And that sometimes hurts, you know, like, shit, I do want to know every detail. And I think, that's also something that I like knowledge. Of course, everybody likes it when they know things about things and want to share that knowledge. But I think it's really cool to see that a lot of people, they took over and they are specialists now. And I think that's really great. And also as a leader, because it's impossible, to know everything the best.
And you describe yourself as like a fire starter. So continuing on this topic of like leadership, what does being a fire starter mean for you?
Well, a fire starter, I think it's taking people along the way. I already talked a bit about being an evangelist as a company, but I tend to have it in me as a person. I used to do a lot of sports as well, where I also led a team, like taking them along. I was not the best player on the field, but I was, I think, the fire starter there as well. So I think it's just, it's my personality to take people along. And what do I mean by that? It's just taking people in your enthusiasm, in your belief. And I think that's really important as a leader in a company, is have a certain belief, have a certain point on the horizon where you want to go, and take people along. I always say, like, if I'm awake at night, I don't want to be awake at night by myself. Like, I want all of you to be awake at night. And I always give this example, like, I, of course, don't want you all to be awake at night.
Right.
But by that, I mean, let's all face these challenges we have or opportunities. And if I only think about it or I come up with ideas, then we're not the strongest team. So I want people to tap my shoulder and say, oh, Ellen, maybe we should do this, or why don't we do this? Mm-hmm. And I think that's cool, because that only happens when you take people along in your enthusiasm. Yeah. And I think that's what I try to do to every day, because you probably ask also for examples, which I'm thinking about now, which is hard, because it's a lot of things. Like, we do a lot of team buildings where we gather people. I try to do a big talk or small talk and get everybody along and be energized. Mm-hmm. We also do a lot of client events where before the client event, we have a little talk and, come on, guys, this is the goal of the event. This is when we are successful. These are the details we need to watch at. So really pump them up, let's say. Yeah. So we have all sort of things where I or my colleagues do this. But I think in the end, being a fire starter is an everyday job. Mm-hmm. Definitely as a leader, because it's useless when you only have a few times in the year where people get positive and energized, because you need this every day. And I think when I come to the office, and I prefer to go every day, is make sure that people are along with you. Yeah. Like, being positive, being like the glass is always half full. Talk to people, and that's also where I jump into meetings and ask, okay, guys, what are we doing? Mm-hmm. What can we do more? Do you have everything you need? That's also something, like, show them that you care about whatever they do, and give them the resources they want. And that's only by saying, okay, come on, guys, let's do this, whatever it takes. And I think that's the fun thing about a job, is that it's everyday's job, the fire starter. Mm-hmm. But that also makes it challenging, because you need to be there every day with this let's say smile on your face. But by that I mean that eagerness to conquer the world of accounting.
I can imagine that would be tiring to be on, even though you love it, and clearly just hearing you talk about it, you can tell that you love it and that you're excited about it. But I can imagine that can be a little bit tiring.
Sometimes.
But so you go into the office just about every day, but you are also spread. You have teams across, like you were saying, the Netherlands, Belgium, Spain, and Portugal. So how do you kind of manage that across borders? And is there anything you've learned for people or for teams who are across borders? How do you keep that energy and keep people on board with each other, even if they're not physically together?
Well, it's a lot of questions, so please remind me if I forget one. Yeah. But I think when I go back to the start and you're a small team in one location, it's like sort of easy, because you have the people around you, you say a few words, you get to the kitchen table, literally what we did, and get everybody along. But when you're growing, and that's also why you need strong people around you. For every leader in our company, I say this, only care, and I mean this in a good way, about the people around you. Because if they have the same intensity, if they have the same goals, if they have the same positivism, then it's easier, because then everybody, it goes along. But that's also the challenge, of course, in being in different locations. And that what breaks my heart every day. Like, when I'm in one location, I think, I want to be also in the other one. So I think, that's one thing. I try to be in our commercial locations, mainly, like Belgium and Netherlands. Mm-hmm. I spread my time a bit. That's one thing, but I try to travel to our Spanish office at least 4 times a year, which is not enough. But of course, I think that's crucial. And what do I do for the other days? Because if I'm in one office, I cannot be in the other one, is make sure that my team around me, the people around me, are having the same sense of urgency for everything. So in these offices, and mainly in the commercial offices, we have leaders, like we have a Belgian and a Dutch leader who take this leadership role on a daily basis, because I truly believe also in local markets. We have one company culture, but you also have a local country culture, and we need to also acknowledge that. But I think when responding to your question, Juliette, the main challenge is that company culture, because that's for me I now say easy, but I really mean this. Like, in one location, it's so easy to build a culture when everybody is there every day. Yeah. But now when it's like spread in locations, that's my main goal, is to have the same business culture, same company culture. So I think that's the main challenge. I think the good thing is also that that I'm not everywhere is also good, because things happen without you. And that's also very powerful, 5 years ago, I had the feeling if I'm not there, it's not happening. But now it's and that gives me energy, like making myself, how do you say that, abundant or
redundant?
Redundant, yeah. Sorry. So I think that's also very important. Think about your successors in the end, because one day maybe I will not be Yuki anymore. I cannot imagine that, but it might happen. So then you need to have a strong team there. So I think that's the main challenge, is build like one team across, and not only across borders, but also with this hybrid way of working. It might be not so popular to say this, but I truly believe that the magic happens in the office. I'm actually also a firefighter for people to come to the office, because, in a software company, you have like product and development. And then on the other hand, you have the business side, but it needs to be like one team. And I think often in companies, you see it's like two teams, but they need to talk to each other. And they don't do it through Slack. They don't do it through a meeting, because they're not at the coffee machine. But in the coffee machine, or when they're sitting across you, then you just go there for 2 minutes and you ask, okay, what's up, and how do I do this, or this client is asking me how do we solve this? And I think that's you tend to respect people more and work together better when you understand each other, and when you understand what the others are doing. I think when you ask in a general SaaS company about product development on the one hand side and the business on the other hand, I think often they don't know what they're doing every day. Like support is like, just answering questions. No, it's not just answering questions. Same goes for development. It's just entering code. No, it's not just entering code. It's a lot going on, and I think you need to understand each other, to respect each other, and to work better together. So. I'm actually a firefighter for all day in the office. Actually, I feel a bit not ashamed, but when I'm working at home and when I do this, it's like, for example, when I need to travel to Amsterdam, it's like the north of or more the center of the Netherlands, where for me it's taking a lot of time to first go from my home to the Antwerp office or to the Rotterdam office, and then to Amsterdam. So in that sense, I usually work like 2 or 3 hours at home. But when I have a meeting at home and my colleagues see that I'm not sitting in the office, I feel a bit like, oh no, I'm not, walking the talk. And but that only happens rarely. Luckily.
No, that's interesting, and like you said, it's a little bit. Everyone has their different opinions on remote work, and it's good for some teams and not great for others. So it's interesting to hear your perspective from a business and product development. Having them together just creates that sense of...
Doesn't mean that we can be flexible. I mean, we are, and I truly believe in that as well. Like when you're having an off day or you truly want to focus, of course you can work at home. But I mean, just in general, it's good to have the chemistry in the office.
Absolutely. Yeah, like you said, the magic happens when you're actually talking face to face. Yes. Absolutely. So we are celebrating Women in Tech Month this month. So just to talk a little bit about, from a leadership perspective for women specifically, there is this perception that men and women tend to lead a little bit differently. The qualities that they bring to leadership tend to be a little bit different. Not that one is good versus bad, it's just different. So I'm just curious what you think about that, if you've kind of seen that play out where it's a little bit different.
Well, I agree that they tend to lead different, or just like doing their job differently. It's like for every role, I think. It's the magic also there. It's a combination of the two, because people are different, but genders are also thinking a bit differently. And of course, I can talk for myself, but I think my main characteristic in leadership are, I think, a bit linked to being female. And I think it's 3 things. For me, it's being open, being transparent. So I think that's the first one. I'm very open, always been. If it's on the table, if people want to know, and of course not every nitty-gritty details or the wages of everybody, but in general, I'm very open with our challenges and things like that. So I think that's a very good asset of being a female leader. Secondly, I think it's fast decision making, and it seems a bit weird that I'm saying this, because often people think, but men are like very fast, but what I've seen in my environment, I think that's something that my male leaders didn't really do, and people like clarity. And of course you have like teams that work a bit better independent and things like that, but I truly believe that making a fast decision makes you a good leader. And the decision is not always the best in the end, but it's people like clarity, people like direction, and I think that's something that really is in my personality, is make fast decisions. And then thirdly is vulnerability. When I don't know something, I say I don't know. And I think that's always been the case. Like with Yuki in the beginning, our leadership team of about 8 people were only men, and then myself. And now today it's a bit more imbalance, and I see the differences. Like, and I learned a lot from these men, to say, like, I call it male energy, and I don't mean it like that, but I do think it's really important to have these leadership aspects from a men's point of view, which I learned a lot from in the first year. But now I see that those elements that I brought in are also making the difference. So I stole a bit, like what we say with Visma, still with pride. I stole from the male side, and I put my own sauce over it, which I think are more female driven. And I think that's really, really good. And I strongly believe in that, because in the end, the decision is maybe not different, but it's the way we communicate this decision. Like, I always say it's not what we do, but it's why we do it and how we do it. And I think the how is also something that, women just tend to be more, people focused, and also here, I'm not saying that men don't have it, but it's just, the wording, the eye for the person, looking at somebody and knowing, okay, this person today, not a good day. I have these people in my team, when they come in, I know, okay, this is a bad day. And I think men in general see this less. I see this at home as well. It's the same. So
like you said, it's the slight differences, and again, like, we need both sides of the coin for sure, especially in this industry.
I see this with our leadership team. It's making a big difference.
Absolutely. And then, so just one more question for you. So again, since this is Women in Tech Month, I'm curious if you have any sort of message that you'd like to leave our listeners, particularly women, but men too, who are looking to kind of advance their career specifically in the tech industry.
Well, that's a hard one. We can talk for 20 minutes about that. But since it's the voice of Visma, I think it's a very nice title, because it's the voice. Like, everybody has a voice. Use it. And by that, I don't mean go yelling what you want, because that's not always the right way. But if you have an idea, if you have an ambition, if you want to go somewhere, speak out. And if you are not comfortable or not extrovert, to share it in person, I don't know, write an email or whatever, or organize it better, prepare a talk with your leader, but let your voice be heard. I think that's the most important one. I wouldn't be here if I didn't talk up, if I didn't say what I wanted, if I didn't acknowledge my ambitions, if I didn't share my thoughts on some things. That's also, again, that openness, that transparency. Do this, because people, when you walk around, they don't feel like, oh, maybe Juliette wants to become an MD or whatever. People don't feel it. Like, speak up. And I think that's really important. Use your voice in whatever you do. And especially when you look at the balance male-female, these voices can be different. We can look at the same with a different point of view. So please say this, because it's very important also for a company to grow. So I love opinions, I love voices, and I think that's really important for everybody out there, and surely also in tech, but I think it's in general. Just we all have a voice, use it.
I love that. That is a perfect way to end this. Thank you so much for being a part of this podcast. It was so nice to get to know you and Yuki and your leadership style. And I feel like there's going to be so many things that people take away from this episode because of you. So thank you very much.
Great. Thank you very much, Juliette.
And for everyone who is listening at home, thank you so much for joining us again. We will be back for another episode. So make sure you are subscribed wherever you like to find your podcasts. And we'll see you next time.